How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another installment of Tech Support Thursday. And this is actually being recorded on Friday. I do apologize about being kind of radio silence lately, as I have shifted my focus over to studying again as I begin the mountain of studying that is required for the CCDE. So, um, my goal is to what I really need to do to get done what I keep saying I'm going to do is just come up with a schedule on, you know, certain days I do certain things, and when I, set milestones for me to hit so that I can get the stuff that I want to get done. That's the big thing. So let me turn down the volume of the mic. There we go. I don't like it looks like I'm shouting. Anyway, that is my goal, is to convert the enterprise workbook into web-based labs and then also record content for that. So whenever I go into I'm going to call it a season. Whenever I go into a season of learning, I tend to not record. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm definitely in a season of learning where it's like just the motivation to record content just isn't there, and that can be problematic. So I'm learning right now. So my goal is to go through the season of learning, and I am focusing right now my time and effort on wireless and security, because there's such an overlap between the two that it makes a lot of sense to do in that approach. So my goal is to eventually get through the learning process, and then I'll go back into, now it's time to lab this up, test this out, things like that. Um, and while I'm doing that, I also have the drive to go and do the workbook development. So there will be workbook development that'll come out that'll be directly on the website. So that is kind of the goal that I have right now to do. So, and then I'm still trying to enjoy the warm weather. I do live in the upper Midwest, so I have probably another 2 months maybe of nice weather where I can go outside and enjoy the weather before it starts to get cold here again, and it's too cold to go out and do anything. So I am definitely trying to get to use as much of my summer as I can, and then once winter kicks in and it gets to be like October, when Halloween time, then it's going to get too cold to be outside, and I will spend the majority of my time inside. So with that being said, I wanted to take a few minutes and go through and try to catch up with all the recent comments that have been left, and getting everything, try to level off, because I still want to still release content on a regular basis on the channel. I know I've been slacking off on the Whiteboard Wednesdays. It's just, right now, because of summer and wanting to enjoy the outdoors, it just hasn't worked out for me. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to transition over to the Tech Support Thursday content, and we'll go from there. So without any further ado, let's dig into this. So if I have answered any of these questions in the past, apologies for that, but it doesn't hurt to go over it again. Hi, speaking of design, how DC Core should be connected to Campus Core. For example, there is location where users are sitting and also data center, and we need to interconnect Campus Core, Catalyst switches, and DC Core, Nexus switches. Interconnection between Nexus and Catalyst should be layer 3 with some sort of routing protocol between them, or should it be layer 2 with VLANs passing span tree between them? And if answer is it depends, could you please bring use cases for both designs? So the simple answer is that it should be layer 3. There should be a dedicated termination point between your campus and your data center, and typically speaking, you would use Catalyst in the campus and Nexus in the data center, but you are also going to have probably a firewall termination in there at some point as well. Some higher end platform of either Palo or Cisco or whoever it might be to handle that traffic, especially when you're looking at server data and things like that. There's going to be a termination point, a security boundary installed in that particular area. Now, it doesn't have to be sitting between campus and data center. It could be a campus and data center are connected to each other, but as soon as stuff hits the data center edge, think VXLAN fabric, where you have a pair of switches or a switch that connects to a bunch of firewalls, and then you hairpin in, so you right through your fabric. Actually, let me take a second here and draw this out because that'll make more sense. Okay, so let me. So if you take a data center fabric, right, you have your core, and then you have your data center. On your data center edge, you're going to have your, typically what's referred to as your border leaf, and then you're going to have your spine, then you're going to have your access leaf, which means servers are going to connect to that, and then you're going to have like a service leaf. And a service leaf is going to have your firewall attached to it. Your access leaf is going to have your servers, and then your border leaf is going to be connecting to your outside world. So all these guys are going to connect right to your spine. The service leaf is going to connect to the firewall. The access leaf is going to connect to your servers. So the traffic flow would look something like this. You would come in from the core, hit the data center edge, hit the border leaf, then you'd hit the spine, and then you would hit your service leaf, hit the firewall. That would be your inbound flow. And then your outbound flow, we'll switch colors, would be from the firewall this way. And then your return flow will go orange, and the return flow would be this way back to the firewall, and then this way back to whoever it is requesting the traffic. That is how I've seen a lot of customers do it. It's what they refer to as service insertion. It's a very common design, and that is typically where you're going to go with that. I definitely do not think doing layer 2 with VLAN extension is a good idea. So I try to minimize anywhere spanning tree has to come into play and things like that. So that would be my suggestion to you if you're looking for solutions in that regard. If that doesn't answer your question, or if it poses more questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I have 3 standard switches because some are 1 gig and some are 10 gig. Can you still use a single distributed virtual switch and just adjust teaming or use multiple DV switches? So the thing you have to think about is the serialization at the port level. What does that mean? That means is how fast can the interface actually forward traffic. If you have a mixed bag of 1 and 10 gig ports, you are going to want to isolate them down to the distributed virtual switch, your DVS or your VDS, vSphere distributed switch. You're going to want them to have dedicated bandwidth. In other words, where my pen tool go? You're going to want, if you have let me flip back over here to black. If you have a scenario where you've got, let's say you've got VDS 1 and you have VDS 2, and then your physical networking up here, we're going to say this is a 1 gig switch, and this, you have another one over here that is a 10 gig switch, right? You're going to want them to co-locate like this. So if you have servers or virtual machines sitting on your VDS that don't have the bandwidth needs for whatever reason, then you would obviously want to put those VMs on this VDS. However, if you have VMs that have high bandwidth requirements, then you would want to put them on this VDS because you have more high-speed communications available than you would on this switch over here on VDS1. So that is the direction you want to go. Can you mix and match? You can, but in my opinion, it's not a good idea. Now, the moment you take and you port channel any of this stuff together, because on the switch side, you're going to put into a single-sided port channel. What does that mean? It means that only this side is configured for a port channel, and you're not doing any, there's no LACP involved here. So LACP is not involved on either side. You are taking these two ports right here, you're putting them into a static port channel, and then same thing over here. The drawback to it is you can't mix and match interface speeds in a port channel. You have to have them equal, meaning they have to be both 1 gig or they have to both be 10 gig. So that is another thing to keep in the back of your mind depending on your link redundancy mechanism. Now, if you take this a step further, and I'm going to draw an upside down Nexus VPC. If you have a scenario where you've got a VPC going back and forth here, and you've got this guy here going here, and this guy going here, and this guy going there, you're going to do the same thing. You can do VPCs that are static and the port channel. So you can do that too, but again, you don't want to mix and match the interface speeds. You can't do 1 and 10 gig at the same time because the underlying load balancing mechanism, the hashing that goes into place, is expecting to be able to send traffic at the same line rate. 1 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig, stuff like that. So just keep those things in the back of your mind. If you have to do it, then make sure that you're putting all of your, going back to what my original statement was, have a VDS to your 1 gig connectivity and have a VDS to your 10 gig connectivity. Can you upgrade the speeds later on? Sure, you can do that. You might have to do a cross VDS vMotion to get traffic off of the existing 1 gig VDS over to the 10 gig VDS so you can change out the physical uplinks, just so you don't have any downtime, stuff like that. So, or you do it one at a time. As long as one port is up in the port channel will work, so you can pull it out. The drawback to that is, though, you can't put a 10 gig and a 1 gig interface in the same port channel. So you get into a order of operations issue. So sometimes it's easier just to tear it down, plug your new ports down, take the 5 minutes of maintenance, and then migrate everything back once the port channel is back up and you're now 10 gig across the board. So that's what I would do. Hopefully that answers your question. So good stuff there. Hi Rob, can you help my setting up my Cisco ASA 5510? Please can do it by myself. No, I don't offer individual help at the at all. I simply don't offer that capability. And there's a really good reason why. You should be able to, I can point you in the right direction to set it up, but I don't want people to become dependent on me. I'm one person and there's a lot of you, so I do not want to be that guy. Like I said, I will point you in the right direction, but at the end of the day, if you went out and you got the hardware to deploy whatever solution it is you're trying to do, then it's on you to figure out how to get it to work. If you need help, I'll point you to the documentation and things like that, but you're literally watching the video of the initial configuration setup, where I literally walk you through the steps of how to stand up an ASA that's brand spanking new. I mean, I believe it was a virtual ASA, but the process is identical. So no, I don't do that. I never will do that. So just if you need a pointer in the right direction, I can help you out with that. Networking is such a specialized skill, it isn't surprising that so many networks are badly configured. I worked at a company that used routing processes as a substitute for VRF. It was madness. Yep, that is kind of a interesting one, and it doesn't it doesn't fix anything. The routes are still on the routing table. And if you are redistributing between processes like EIGRP autonomous systems or OSPF processes, you can only run one BGP autonomous system. So these are some things that you definitely should be concerned about. If they're different routing processes is not the same thing as running VRFs. And if you guys want a deeper dive on how that works, let me know. New to your channel, appreciate you going out of your way to teach tech. Appreciate that. Thanks for the materials, no worries. Hi Rob, what is the OS version for Switch 6789 PE123, ASA 11 and 12, and iNet router? You can use whatever you want. It's up to you. It came straight out of CML, so whatever version you want to use to get your lab working. It's up to you. Hi Rob, I'm actually building a greenfield network myself, and we're going with BGP EVPN. Can you provide some documentation and or a book you recommend that describes exactly this architecture in detail? And I'm assuming you mean multi-site. If you Google BGP EVPN VXLAN on Nexus, there's documentation. You literally just Google the question you asked me, and you'll get the answer to that. Thanks for the video. No worries. Great video. You skipped the EVPN command set for VLAN 20. Oh, good call out. So I did a live session for troubleshooting last Saturday, and it lasted about 4.5 hours, and I had half a dozen people show up to walk through that, so it was kind of cool. Morning, I'm having trouble finding the topology on the site. Is it available for download? Yes, it is. If you go to... If you're here on RobRikerTechChannel.com and you go over here to the menu and you go to Enterprise and you go to Workbook, here's the Workbook demo. It redirects you to Google Drive, and once you're here, the topology is right there. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, very good. You got my vote. Currently waiting on a road to CCNP. I agree with you on that one. CCNP is definitely, and the intention behind that one was to include a design section in the CCNP Encore and RC series. So the updates to that are basically that I've decided to, I tried to whittle that down to be the smallest the thing it could possibly be, so they could run in both CML and Eve on a lightweight platform. So the goal is that the workbook is essentially complete. I need to get it converted into web pages, and then there's some verification steps that I have to go through to verify things are working the way that they should be and stuff like that. But essentially, that is the goal, to get all that stuff to be converted over to the web page, and so you guys have access to it. And the only videos that are going to be accompanying that for an RC and Encore are going to be the troubleshooting videos, because the Enterprise Workbook is already encompasses everything that's covered. So that is the goal for that. So that's pretty much where that's at. So like I said, I'm going to go into more studying for wireless and dig into the details of that. And same thing with security. And the cool thing about it is there's a lot of overlap. So I'm having to go learn wireless in depth. I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's one of the least understood or least known topics on the blueprint for me. So my goal is here in the next couple weeks to get through the videos that I'm watching, and then do some labs. And I'm thinking probably by maybe the end of August, I might even take the CCNP wireless implementation exam and get my CCNP in wireless, and use that as a launching point to maybe go after CCA wireless. So we'll see how that comes into play. But there's still a lot of overlap between wireless and security. So I am working my way through that too. So there's the wireless component on the security CCIE, but I would need to go take security core and then take one of the other exams, probably firewall or firepower, just to go through it. Same thing, I took the VPN exam a long time ago. It probably wouldn't be very hard to re-up on that one. So those are some of the different areas that I'm looking at. So my goal is to get CCNPs in wireless and in security here relatively soon, as a way to basically set myself up for the CCDE practical. So, and then I plan on going through service provider. I've already got my NPN service provider, so it would just be a matter of going through the material for it, and refreshing myself and doing the content for that. And then I'm looking past the camera at my whiteboard and then doing SD-WAN 20.9 and doing that inside of Eve and seeing what my options are for that. I haven't spent a lot of time in it yet, but it's on the blueprint. If I come over here to Cisco Docs certs and I look at DEV3.1, if we look at the core technology list for, let me look at core list. And if we look at how this is orchestrated, we have SD-WAN. I'm definitely going to be going through SD-WAN coverage, and then they have layer 3 VPN, so a lot of MPLS. So as I make my way through the wireless section, and I'm working my way through all this, once I get through all of this, and I'm in a much better spot, when ironically, there's a lot of network control and identity. There's a lot of ICE in wireless. So that's one of the things that I'm working my way through as well. So, and then I'm going to start working my way through firewall and VPN and perimeter and security and all other type of stuff. So those are the areas of concentration for me right now. And as I'm working my way through them and I complete a section, there will be workbook labs. I'll be recording content for those areas and things like that as I work my way through it and all the stuff that goes along with that. So that is my goal, eventually getting into SD-WAN, MPLS VPNs, and hardcore into VPNs, then unicast routing for V4 and V6, and that should round that out. And then I have to figure out and then the area of expertise for large-scale networking. I'm going to go through that. So that is essentially the direction this is going to take, and it's just going to take some time to go through it. So one step at a time, and I'm being tactical about it right now and focusing on wireless. So that being said, I want to thank you guys for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video. If you guys have any questions about anything I brought up or talked about, or you'd like to dive into something more in depth, let me know. But I'll leave that in the comment section below, and I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.